I've been getting a lot of questions lately about why woodpeckers do get headaches when they whack their heads against trees all day long. And it turns out this is a surprisingly complex question that has kept scientists up at night for decades. I'm a science writer with a degree in neuroscience, and today we're going to be talking about woodpeckers and their amazing brains. Well, it turns out that we don't know for sure, but there are some fascinating theories. So researchers started looking at what might protect the woodpecker's brains from the powerful blows to their heads. The brain is extremely sensitive to movement, and even a small jolt can cause a headache. It can write poetry and build spaceships and play video games, but we've also evolved to be very fragile. Our brains are soft and squishy, and they need lots of protection. That's why we have skulls, but also why we're not built for a life of constant banging. Our closest relatives, the chimpanzees, have skulls that are 2 to 3 times thicker than ours, and they can bang their chests up to 20 times a minute. But even with those big, thick skulls, they can only do that for about 5 minutes before they need to take a break. Humans have big brains and delicate skulls, and we're just not built for a life of pounding. That's because our brains are floating in cerebrospinal fluid, and that fluid protects us from injury by absorbing any sudden movements. But when we experience a sudden movement, like getting hit in the head, that fluid gets pushed around. That movement can stimulate nerves in the brain that cause pain. Scientists think that woodpeckers have evolved to have less fluid around their brains. By having less fluid, their brains are less likely to move around inside their skulls, which means they're less likely to get injured. But with less fluid comes a cost, and that's that the woodpeckers have to be very careful not to dehydrate, so to protect themselves from dehydration. Woodpeckers have also evolved to have a special organ in their heads that wicks moisture away from their brains, and then sends it to the rest of their body. One of the most obvious things that scientists have looked at is the structure of the woodpecker's head. If a woodpecker gets hit in the head just one time with too much force, they can get a concussion, and sometimes that can even kill them. But it seems like all that pecking has paid off because woodpeckers that are better at avoiding concussions live longer and have more babies. So the woodpecker's quest to avoid headaches has actually shaped their evolution. After all, it says their head that is doing all the pecking, and it has got to be able to withstand that kind of force without getting injured. So researchers from the University of Alaska Fairbanks took a closer look at the woodpecker's skulls and compared them to the skulls of other birds that do and peck nearly as hard. They found that woodpeckers have thicker, stronger skulls than other birds. But even when they took that into account, they still couldn't explain why woodpeckers don't get headaches. It seems like there has to be more to it than just a tough skull. Let's get into it. Woodpeckers are incredible birds. They can peck up to 20 times a second without getting a single headache. That's despite the fact that their heads are basically hammers. Woodpeckers have strong skulls and sharp beaks that they use to peck on trees, and they do this in order to find insects to eat. They also peck on trees to mark their territory and to attract a mate. And although we might think it's cute when a woodpecker is pecking on our windowsills, it's actually incredibly dangerous. When a woodpecker is hammering away at a tree, they exert a force about 1,000 times their body weight with each peck. That's like if a 200-pound person slammed their head into a wall with the force of a car crash. That kind of impact should give anyone a massive headache, but woodpeckers don't seem to mind at all. So what's going on here? Why don't woodpeckers get headaches? After all, mammals have thick skulls too, and we get headaches all the time. But even with all these amazing adaptations, woodpeckers are still vulnerable to getting concussions. It's easy to feel like we humans have it so much better than other animals. Thanks for watching.